When I talk about perfect case acceptance, I know it's natural to want to learn all of the clever patient compliance tricks, preemptive action, pre-framing, permission statements, phantom pressure, all of those sexy things that we talk about. But one thing that I want to make clear is that your attitude and your state of mind are more important than any of the patient compliance tricks combined. Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about the number one thing you need to be focused on if you want to get perfect case acceptance in your practice. Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Dr. Scott. I got a lot to talk about today, so let's get to the question of the day, which is, what is your favorite thing about working with patients? We had a couple people answer that over in the group yesterday, so I heard some good stuff get started. But what is your favorite thing about working with patients? Put that in the comments down below. Also, in the comments down below, the Chiropractor Business Survival Guide is ready. I know yesterday I said it was almost ready, and I sent a couple people to the right place, but the link is in the comments down below, so make sure you check that out as well. See Hector joining me early this morning. Thanks for stopping by, Hector. Let's make sure everything's going well. It is. All right. So, I mentioned before in earlier shows when we talked about perfect case acceptance. Let me get that changed over there. There we go. That the only reason that we fail in case development is that we skip steps. Case development or perfect case acceptance. I always talk about the patient development path. We all would love to meet patients that have progressed so far along the healthcare continuum that I talk about, so far down that path as we have. Someone who values a comprehensive approach to treatment, who, when you give them the recommendations, they're like, yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. Who come in looking for wellness care. Not enough of them out there. I've actually had a couple email conversations with some doctors who've been in practice for quite a long time, saying, that just doesn't happen. Obviously, we people come to us looking for pain. They come out of that pain basement that I talk about. So we would all love to get more of those patients, but think about what I'm saying. I need you to picture that continuum of patients that I talk about, okay? All the way from someone who wants that wellness approach that you want in your life, all the way down to the person who waits for an absolute train wreck type of crisis to drive them into your practice. Have you ever stopped to think about your own personal development growth, which can be pinpointed all the way along that, any number of personal development continuums, just like that one? The one I use the most often, especially when I'm working with chiropractors, is money management. I have plenty of clients, or I talk to plenty of chiropractors who spend money that they don't have for things that they don't need. They finance it for way more years than they are ever going to live. And they're still learning their lessons. And my guess is that you are the same way. I work with these chiropractors every day. They're all at a different place along that financial money management continuum. But the thing that they all have in common is that they're all progressing one step along the way. Think about where you are on that money management continuum right now. Maybe you're completely out of debt. Maybe you're paying cash for everything. But there was a time when you weren't so savvy. There was a time that you had to learn those lessons in money management. Patients are no different. Healthcare is a place where we have progressed rapidly, but patients still have a long way to go. The problem that I see is that doctors are not willing to accept that patient continuum. Even though you all have had similar experiences, again, maybe when it came to money management, we're not willing to accept the patient's moving that slowly along that healthcare continuum. The problem is you think the patient who doesn't commit to comprehensive care right now, today, on the spot, when I talk about perfect case acceptance, I've explained to you, it's not, last week we talked about patience with your patients. It's not about them accepting right now on the spot. And unfortunately, too many doctors think that if they don't accept that comprehensive care right now on the spot, that patient is lost, or that you just can't trust them to do the right thing if you give them a choice. Some of you, we'll go back to the money management example. Some of you may have been born, financially conservative. Maybe you never made a wrong decision in your life. I've met a few people like that, but they're few and far between. But others of you need to lose money before you learn your lessons. Some of my clients, some people I talk to, probably have to lose one more time before they get that message, right? You have to make that risky decision, realize that it's not worth it anymore, and then move on to a more mature money management continuum mindset. Patients are absolutely no different. Every patient has their journey. Some of them have to spend 10 years in that pain basement that I talk about in order for them to learn the lessons that you want them to learn. Does that make them stupid? Does that make them junk patients? Talked about last week that there's no such thing as a junk patient. It's just practices that don't have their systems in place. Every patient has their journey. Your challenge, both in your own personal money management case as well as working with patients on their healthcare continuum, your challenge is to move the patient forward one square at a time. One square only on the game board. One square at a time, no more, no less. You can't work on the slam dunk in this situation. You have to just move the ball down the court. All right? Patients progress at their own pace, so you can't become frustrated. There we go. You can literally, and that was the whole idea of this part of the course, is that you can get perfect case acceptance. And you can literally get perfect case acceptance all the time, every time, if you're patient enough and if you live long enough. I've often used the quote from Vince Lombardi, who says, we've never lost a game, we've just run out of time. Basically saying that if we had more time, we'd win every game. And you're the same way. If you live long enough, you can get perfect case acceptance from every patient, as long as you don't push that patient away through your subtle intimidation tactics, through using all those compliance tricks. When the patient realizes what you're doing and they nod and smile, leave your office and go get care from someone else. I get plenty of doctors who tell me that, that all they want to do is serve patients. But I know, especially from watching them practice, that all they want to do is serve patients as long as they're at the same level of health consciousness as the doctor. When they hear what patients actually want, they almost cringe. A lot of doctors don't want to serve patients if they have to serve patients the way the patients want to be served. So, your first step for perfect case acceptance has nothing to do with what you have to do or what you say to patients. It has to do with your attitude towards service. The first step for perfect case acceptance is for us to accept the case that the patient has brought to us. If we can meet them where they're at on that healthcare continuum and move them one step along the way and gain their trust, we continue moving them one step along the way over the course of their lifetime. But again, if we scare them away at this point, we've lost them forever. If you can accept them and their position, you're off to a great start. But patients can sense very often that we're just sitting there waiting for them to stop talking so that we can guide them away from emergency care. We can take them where we want to take them. And when they start getting that sense, again, they shut down and they're out of our office. The very best practices that I've seen are the ones in which the doctors are the very best at listening to their patient and fully accepting their limited healthcare maturity. Realizing, again, that maybe they're at that place somewhere along the personal development continuums or money management continuum, and they're going to take some lessons to get where they want to go as well. Same thing that they figure out for their patients. That's the key to what makes most of those practices successful, is that they're willing to accept that, they're willing to be patient, they're willing to care and serve that patient no matter where they're at in that continuum, never think of them as junk patients, and help to guide them slowly along the healthcare continuum. So this is a very good time for us to stop and for you to do a serious self-assessment as to whether or not you're actually there to serve patients. If you've ever said that you're there to serve people, but then you become seriously annoyed when that patient doesn't seem ready to make a commitment to your practice or a commitment to a comprehensive approach to care, if you've ever gotten annoyed at that point, then you need to do that self-assessment. You need to figure out why you're really there and who you're really there to serve. Next week, we are going to be talking about exactly that. Are you really there to serve patients? So make sure you come back next Thursday? No, Wednesday. Wednesdays is when we do perfect case acceptance. Thursdays is when we do referral mastery, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be starting the first part of cost as we talk about the 6 C's of referral mastery. So we're going to talk about cost tomorrow. And I'm going to give you the secrets of a high-performance pricing strategy for your practice. The workers have gotten here for the day, so you can probably hear the hammering. So probably a good time for me to shut down. I don't know why they're right above my window again today. I'm upstairs. They're right outside my window. I moved down to the basement. Here they come again. Anyways, tomorrow, pricing strategy. Chiropractor Business Survival Guide in the comments. Make sure you check that out. And I will see you all tomorrow morning for Referral Mastery.